If you've been following these videos that I make, these monologues that I do, you'll know that a lot of the time I'm questioning things. Sometimes I, of course, put forward my opinion and say, I don't think this is true, or I don't believe in that, or whatever it might be. But a lot of the times, especially in the early times, I was questioning, why would the government do what the government is doing, have policies that seem to have no empathy with the people that they're supposed to serve? Why is there no sense of humanity going on in the government offices, such as the council tax and things like that? And as we've gone on, I've realised there is no empathy, because these are very much for-profit businesses, corporations, dead entities registered on places like Dun and Bradstreet, and they have no empathy. They're not there to serve the people. They're not even these assemblies of people that have been set up by the people for the people. These have morphed into the them and us, and a bunch of elite people who want to extract as much financial reward, but also sweat equity, and to keep our vibrations low, and to confuse us and con us about what is going on in the world. And of course, it's not just them, it's also the people behind them, but the people behind the government who's paying these useful idiots, because that's what they are, really and truly. The government and the officials that we see, the police force, the bailiffs, the councillors, the members of parliament, they are effectively useful idiots. They don't know what's going on. They haven't been fully instructed. They don't use their own common sense or critical thinking. They don't realise the harm that is being given to people, but they're useful to the cabal, the Satanists, the Luciferians, the Freemasons, all these people who are actually trying to control the world, and do control the world to a greater or lesser degree, although I think that is now crumbling and falling apart. And so they continue, these councillors and governments and whatever, of enforcing the stuff that they've been told to enforce. And we, the people, have been so dumbed down that we haven't noticed until now, in which a huge number of people are beginning to become aware of the great harms that have been perpetrated. And of course, the medical intervention and that so-called virus that was floating about in March 2020 has awoken a lot of people to the way that society has been constructed. But now, as I've gone down this and many rabbit holes, and now one is starting to think that actually you've got to question everything. And at first you think, well, that's okay, you question why governments are doing what they do, and you get to the main arguments, I suppose, of what's going on, what things that you can, the moon landings, the JFK, the Holocaust, the London bombings, the whole thing, the weapons of mass destruction, all these big red flag or false flag operations. And you think, yeah, are they true? Are they not true? Is there something behind all of that, or is it just made up? And you come to your own conclusions, of course. But then I think there are other fundamental things that we don't even think about, that we have also assumed to be accurate and true because we've been told them. And one of those, I think, is the way that we live. A lot of people now have moved from the country into the towns, and we live in urban environments in which we are closed off from the earth. We wear rubber soles. We're not earthing. We're not connecting. We're not grounding with the earth. We're not getting rid of the positive electrons, is it, or ions? I forget which it is. We're not getting the negative ones, which actually don't get to worry about the terms positive and negative in this. That's just the poles. You need the negative ions or electrons, whatever it is in the earth, to discharge the positive ones which are coming from the environment, and we're being bombarded with those, with the EMFs, the electromagnetic fields and frequencies and all of that. And we're all aware of the 5G and the nefarious nature of that. We know that our Wi-Fi is not good. We know that the mobile phones that we use is disrupting not only our thinking and our brain pattern, but also our blood when we hold it in our hands. It's radiating our brains, cooking them slowly but surely when we hold them to our head. So there's a lot of things that we're pushing back against. And we live in these cities and these hugger-mugger environments in which everybody's on top of one another, and there's very little grass, there's very little earth exposed, there's very little trees and nature. It's all very designed, if you like, and there's a tree here and a tree here and a little bit of grass here, and all of that, but it's not, you're not getting the thrive of nature. And we know that being out in nature is a very good thing. And we know that we are getting ill, and we're now slowly becoming aware that illness is not what we think it is, that actually we are detoxing from the huge environmental soup that we are all on a daily basis succumb to. And why is that? Why are we succumb to it? Well, the Wi-Fi and the 5G and the fumes and the industry that's pumping stuff in, the sky that they're pumping stuff in, the water that's being polluted. Why is that? And it struck me that there's a number of things. One is we're living in a way that I think we're not designed to. Going to work, I don't think we are designed as humans in a flesh and blood body on this 3D plane. I don't think we're designed to go commuting for a few hours, working for the most of the day, coming home, flopping in front of a box that is then programming our minds, and repeat and rinse, eating, of course, substandard food. But it's the work bit, going to work, working for other people in that fashion that we have done, that we have created these corporations. We may not have created them, but people have created them, and they have grown to such monstrous proportions, and people are swarming into them. They're like a new country. When you work for a large corporation, it's like, this is our country, and here is our treaty, and here is our rules and regulations that you have to abide by, and here is our health service within it, and here is our exercise regime within it, and this is our uniform, and this is how you must behave, and this is the language that you must use. And this concept of working for corporations, working in that manner, I think this is something that we've been blinded into doing, and thinking that we're doing a good thing, that all of this is to our benefit, that we come away with a little pile of some form of money or currency or fiat currency, pretend money, monopoly money. And then we end up, in order to survive, in order to live, to put food in our bellies, to put water in our throats, to put comfort in our homes, we end up giving that money back to the corporations. And so, because we've given the money back away to these big manufacturing corporations, high industry and all of this, we then have to repeat what we did yesterday, today. We have to then get back on that train and go to that place and be under artificial light and be working away at a screen, whatever it is, and have somebody above us telling us how we got to run our lives, causing us stress. You've got to get, we need the bottom line has got to be better. You're not working hard enough. We're not incentivizing you. You've got to do this. And if you do, these are the incentives that will give you a nice flash car, a bit more electronics, or we'll permit you some liberty. You can have an extra holiday. We'll give you permission. This is not thriving. This is not living. This is not what a spirit housed in a 3D human body of flesh and blood in this wonderful natural earth world is supposed to live. This is my thoughts. You may disagree. Maybe you think this is what it's about, that you commute and spend 10 hours under artificial light being stressed by it. Maybe that's what you think this is what life is about. I think we've been duped for so long. I think we've been duped in many different ways. Of course, our history and the science that we've been told and the pharmaceuticals that we've been told is necessary. All of that, yeah, we know that. We're beginning to get that realization. But I think working for this strange exchange, this money, is not what it's about. So you might say, well, all right then, Richard, all right, know it all. Go on then, what is it all about? And to me, it is about getting back to nature. It's stripping away all the tarmac, the glass, the concrete, and these big edifices, these corporations, and saying, no, that, you know, without us, you are nothing. You're just a concept. A corporation is just a concept. It's just an idea on a bit of paper. It doesn't actually live or thrive. It's only us, these men and women that go and work for it, that give it the energy, that make, because it's a dead entity. It cannot do anything. And we get duped. We know that with the legal fiction, the name, the birth certificate name. We get duped into thinking that we are part of this and that we become the corporation, if you like, a human, the colour of man, part of it, and we become the wheels in it. I think more and more, now I appreciate people are going to disagree and they're going to find the concept abhorrent, so they think it's a backward step. You'll say you're going back into the caves and things like that. But I think we have to go back to much smaller groupings of people who are working on the land and looking at what actually is the most important thing that we need. And connecting with the land, growing, laughing, dancing, thriving, smiling, hugging, eating as families together, bringing up your children yourself, being noble, being humble, watching the sunrise. These are the important things. Falling in love, sharing, helping one another. This is what being a soul on this strange, whatever you want to call it, planet, dimension, 3D space, whatever it is, in these flesh and blood bodies. This is what it is about. Not this continual working ever more towards a digital nomadic society where you're online and you do not have any real physical existence. This is where we're being duped and sold and enticed into going through the media, through advertising, through people telling us how we should think and giving us these wonderful and somewhat misleading trinkets, these flash cars and swimming pools and big houses and all of this and all of that. That's not the essence of life. I think this is complete hogwash, that actually it's the basics. We're losing the basics. We're losing touch with what is important, and having some space in the outside, having the ability to grow something, to know what the plants and the trees are, to having some animals, to having friends that help you do these things. The most simplest things, I think, are the most important things. And the world that we've allowed to happen, in which we have to earn money so that we can give that money back to the corporations, council tax being one. You cannot live in your own home without having to go and earn some of this fiat currency so that you can give it to another corporation, because the councils are just businesses. They're not the assembly of people with a charter from the king with a seal and all those things that we thought that was run by the aldermen of the towns and villages back perhaps a few hundred years it was. These have been turned into these rather nasty, dead entity, devilish corporations that want to extract your lifeblood from you by making you work. And one of the ways they have done that, thanks to the government, another corporation, is some weird legislation, rules that you and I were never privy to, were not there as part of it, we never agreed to it, it wasn't a contract that we ever signed. signed up to, and that is that in order to have a roof over your head, you have to pay, even though you bought that roof, that building, that dwelling, that house, that residence, whatever you want to call it, that place that you lie your head at night time and that you cook in the daytime and you bring your family up, that even though you have spent years paying for it through a mortgage, which is of course another complete con, because you gave them the money in the first place and you're paying it back with interest and they're making money, they're still extracting cash from you. They're still extracting the money, because you cannot even live there without them saying, oh well, you know, the Financial Act legislation 1992, whatever it is, you've still got to pay us, and if you don't, we're coming for you. This world that we have allowed to build up around us is completely wrong. It is a lie. And those that are the non-playing characters of the world, who do not have any common sense and cannot think for themselves and line up to have suicide solutions injected into them, they can't see it. But you and I can. You and I can see that. We can reason it out. We can agree. We can agree to disagree. We need to claim back those areas of land before the corporations grab them and completely run it away from us and force us into these 15-minute cities. We've got to understand what really it means to live and what we should do. And that's my thought for the day.